Hi everyone, this is Vino, and in this interview we are discussing thinking in the context of giving perspective of what is the difference between mind thinking and self-looking. Now, understand in terms of the mind consciousness system and ourselves within the mind consciousness system. This process that we're walking is changing ourselves as the mind consciousness system into physical, practical living. So we're a system that is transforming itself to live here within the physical in equality and oneness with everything that is here. So that means that in terms of one's process, in terms of the structure of the mind consciousness system, we're still going to utilize it within our process of changing and transforming ourselves into practical physical living. So in terms of the system, the structure of the mind consciousness system, it's not bad, it's not wrong, it's not negative, it's not the devil, it's not the demon, it's not your fear, it's not your enemy. In terms of how it is structured, it is structured within such a way to actually facilitate being able to function within how we have created and established existence as a system. Alright, so we're first going to have to, within our processes, within what we're walking, we first have to change ourselves as the system that is here. So the process is within our mind consciousness system where you will, in essence, transform or change your thinking processes to looking. So let me give you a practical example. So let's start with a practical example in how this whole process work and function, in utilizing the example of how we're going to change thinking to an actual support and assistance of self within one's process. So you want to change yourself as your mind consciousness system, where, for example, your thinking transforms into looking, but the way that the looking is done will be similar to how thinking happens, but the starting point, the manifestation, the substance, and the application thereof change to the context of assisting and supporting self within one's process. So one use what is here to assist and support one within and as one's process to become a physical living being, in where we become thus birthing life from the physical, from the system. So initially one used what is here. You stand equal to and one with what is here. And in that you utilize what is here thus as a support and assistance tool to establish one's self-equality and oneness in the physical. The same as what we're going to be doing in the world system as a whole. We're going to be utilizing the system that is here, walk in it, become it, change as it and with it. I mean, we cannot, as has been illustrated, both within the world, fighting the system is not the solution. It is not the answer. I mean, the system is not going to budge because it is so interrelated, interconnected into a greater global system, as well as integrated into the unconscious, subconscious, and conscious of human beings. And there's no way you're going to change that entire total system just by knocking at one little point of it, in throwing your arms in the air, trying to knock down one domino. It's not going to work. The whole system has to change within a unison. So the only way to do that is to infiltrate it, stand as and with it, and change as it. We are the systems, human beings. That's how the only way we're going to change this world is through changing ourselves. So we start that process with, for example, thoughts. Throwing your arms up in the air at your thoughts, throwing tantrums, fearing them, yelling at them, being frustrated at yourself, judging yourself, yelling and screaming inside yourself in relation to your thoughts is not going to do anything with it. It's again like knocking at a little point of a total system, which is your total mind consciousness system. You've got to change with and as it, which one do as follows. Now, how to assist and support yourself to utilize the structure in which thoughts manifest to change pre-programmed thinking of your mind consciousness system to self-looking is as follows. Firstly, you've got to establish your self point within yourself, meaning where you initially start with your process of stopping participation in the thoughts. It doesn't mean it's going to discontinue the thoughts in terms of how and why they constantly and continuously come up in your conscious mind. I mean, that you'll only stop through walking your total process in your conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind, which is a very long time. So from the get-go, you've got to realize that this is not about stopping thoughts in terms of wanting them to become completely non-existent. That will only happen over an extended period of time, and even then, throughout your process, the context of your thoughts will start changing when you start picking up other people's thoughts. But obviously that only comes way into the continuation of your process when you have already in fact proven that self-equality in oneness and being able to stand equal to and one with other human beings. So first, it's self first. So with your thoughts in your conscious mind, now you're stopping participation initially first. So that stopping participation gets you to that point within yourself where you realize, okay, I am a self within me that can stop participation in these thoughts and these reactions of emotions and feelings that come up. Therefore, these thoughts, emotions, and feelings are not me, yet it has become part of me because I'm still experiencing them. So thoughts, emotions, feelings, the whole mind consciousness system is manifested separate parts of self that is existent within oneself and one's human physical body. That self in essence said, I'm not going to take self-responsibility for that part of me, and therefore we separated ourselves from parts of ourselves within ourselves, and in that separation created a consciousness, and that consciousness has thus occupied the total mind consciousness system that constitutes the totality of parts of ourselves that we've separated ourselves from, that we kind of went and said, I don't want anything to do with that part of me. That part of me can just go on and plod along in reality or in existence while I'll take the back seat inside myself and just abdicate total power and responsibility of everything of myself within me, my relationships, my world, and the world as a whole, which is in essence what's busy happening within ourselves and the world as a whole. We've been taking a back seat within existence, not living actual self-directive self-responsibility in participating actively in manifesting a world that regard and consider ourselves and all and earth and the universe and the animals, but instead we have given control to a consciousness which represents ourselves as a system that is running things, obviously not in a very or at all supportive way of what is here in the physical, because consciousness is not physical. It is pre-programmed, it's programs, it's systems. So your thoughts is part of that consciousness of ourselves that we've separated ourselves from. And that entire consciousness is manifested as the total functioning of our mind consciousness system. So we've got to take the place of our individualized consciousness, our individualized mind consciousness system. And that's what you start doing when you start establishing that self within you, where you start stopping participation in thoughts and realize, ooh, there's a self here that can actually stop the thoughts, that can actually stop the energies. And then this self, the more and more you apply yourself with writing, with self-forgiveness, with your self-corrective application, with stopping participation in thoughts, with your breathing, you more and more start taking the place of consciousness within your mind consciousness system. Okay, makes sense. So then as that shift starts happening, what will start happening is your thinking, so to speak, will start changing. It will start changing to a looking, a observation, a insight, a perspective, where your internal functionings as the mind consciousness system will start changing. For example, where previously you had just random thoughts coming up in your conscious mind, you'll start realize now that you start meeting people, your thinking start changing to, for example, when you're meeting someone, it now goes to, what am I reacting to? What is this energy that I'm experiencing? Am I stable? Am I here? Even your internal conversations will start changing from who the fuck does this person think she is to what can I learn from this person? Or your physical behavior will start changing to like a tightening of your body when you go into defense and protection mechanism, to where you are now more comfortable and relaxed. So all that happens in terms of this process is that who you are within your mind consciousness system, within the physical, as the system starts changing. So understand that the basic process is where self starts taking directive principle of one's mind consciousness system and taking the place of consciousness, which is our total pre-programming. And at the same time, while that happens, one move oneself from pre-programmed living to self-directive principle living. And at the same time, within those two actions, you start integrating your living as the system into the physical. And as that process starts happening, your pre-programming starts disappearing, the system itself starts moving away, and you start moving into physical, practical living. And that's how we transfer ourselves in our process from pre-programmed system to equality in one is self-directive system to actual physical living expression. So initially, let's have a look at, for example, in terms of your thoughts. What are mind thoughts? Mind thoughts would be that which preoccupy your time within your conscious mind. Meaning, like, for example, where your mind would jump in thoughts, where suddenly you're thinking about this and that, and your mind goes here and there, and then you think of a memory, and then you think of a picture, and then you think of an old friend, and then you think of a new friend, and your thoughts like kind of jump context, but it has no tangibility to what you are participating here now. You're having these thoughts come up while you're busy working. Or, for example, in terms of communicating with someone, and while you're communicating with them, all these thoughts start randomly jumping up inside your mind in relation to them, in relation to how they remind you of a past friend, and then there's fears and anxieties and nervousness coming up, and all these ideas start forming. That would be a reference of what is mind thoughts. Mind thoughts are that which is while you're participating in physical reality, and it has no context to what you're doing right now. So let's say, for example, what would be when you are looking at something, meaning within the context of self, directing within self. That would be, for example, you're busy typing and working, and you're looking at, okay, should I continue with this, or should I continue with doing, finishing up my previous project? Can I continue with this? And, you know, then you're like just having a look within yourself. What practical thing would you like to do within the context of what is here now? I mean, that's cool. That's just you looking at what to do within the practical context of what is here now. And that looking is simply a point of where you go inside yourself, and it's not a point of separation. It's simply a here-ness with what is here, and you're simply kind of taking a step back within yourself, within reality, and assessing within yourself what it is that you would like to do and take as a next step. So mind thoughts as well will generate energy always. So here is another reference in terms of what is mind thoughts and self-looking. Mind thoughts will always generate energy. Where, for example, you're working and your mind goes into the past, to a friend, to how shitty your job is, to your work colleagues, to what's going to be made for supper tonight. You know, your thoughts jump into various contexts. There is no reality to what you're doing right now. And then while you're doing all those thinking, there's nervousness and anxiety and fear coming up, because all those thoughts exist as fears, worries, and concerns inside yourself. Or when you're meeting with a friend, again, your thoughts will bring up an energy charge towards them, where they're communicating with you and you're judging their clothes, you're comparing your clothes to their clothes, his girlfriend with your girlfriend, you're going into images and pictures and things like that while you're having a completely different conversation, and it'll generate and charge energy, and later on the mind thoughts will even start changing your physical experience and your behavior and things like that. So, you know, that's mind thoughts. Now, again, it's got yourself looking. So while you're working and you're finished up with your work, and you are on your way to your car, and you're going, oh, what's for supper tonight? I mean, that's fine, because you realize supper is a responsibility, and it is in context to what is required to be done as the next step in your world, in your reality. And I mean, that's fine. And then you go in and you have a look at, okay, what can we make? And what is even cool is you can take a shop, for example, place the shop within you and walk in the shop while you're in the car, and just like prepare the road before yourself to have a look at what is it in all the aisles that you need, and you can like walk through the aisles and check what is it that you would like to get, and have a look at your family, what would they feel like, or is it just you? You know what I mean? That's looking. That's practical reality context. There's no energy. It's simply a tool that one utilizes for a moment within reality to assist and support your actions. It's like preparing the road before you. So there's a difference between what is mind thinking and self-looking. And it's a very cool difference. I mean, it's really obvious. Mind thinking, random abstract thoughts taking you into various directions, thinking about pasts, pictures, images while generating energy, and has no practical, tangible context to your reality that is here with you in this very moment, nor has any practical context to a next step that you require taking in your practical reality. Whereas your self-looking is practical, reality orientated, where you simply for a moment take yourself out of reality, but it's not even taking yourself out of reality. You're still here. You're simply utilizing the tool of looking within yourself to prepare the road before you in your practical physical reality to assist and support your next step. And that's it. There's no energy involved. It's simply practical. I mean, if, for example, let's take the supper point. If, for example, you're now going into fear and anxiety and energy while you're looking at what to make for supper, now that looking is changing into thinking, because you've given it now an emotional reactive charge. And obviously one can then assist and support oneself with the writing and the self-forgivenesses to just take out the emotional feeling reaction charges in relation to preparing food, and so practice oneself in changing thinking into looking. Remain always practical. The same with when your body is hungry. It's going to utilize what you consist of and exist as the mind consciousness system to tell you, hey, feed me. Mainly the body communicates through physical experience when you physically feel hungry. I mean, obviously you're then going to go and assist and support the physical with the substance and the nutrients that it needs and requires. Sometimes you'll sit and you'll be writing and something like water or coffee or juice or sandwich will come up, that's cool. I mean, you'll realize it'll also come up with like a movement that comes up from your stomach up into your chest area, and it's like your whole body just for a moment like becomes expressed in this point of, hey, I feel like something, you know. And I mean, that's cool. Obviously, if you've like now eaten and you've had a substantial amount of food and your body is satisfied, and your tendency has been or is towards, for example, dessert or sweets or chocolates or things like that, obviously if your mind keeps having that come up over and over and over again, one has to assess, okay, is this what would assistance support physical? Is this a want, a need, a desire? I mean, one can assess with one's human physical body, especially in relation to foods. But mostly everyone experiences the plain natural point of assisting and supporting physical. Eat your 3 good meals a day or 5 portions of small meals during the day, however, and then in between those times, if your body feels like something, it'll let you know, it'll come up, or you'll just simply know, you'll like walk around and it'll feel like, okay, there's something that I'd like, and like walking around the kitchen and going, oh, what is it? Sometimes you won't even find it on the same day. Sometimes you'll only find it like a week later. Oh, that's what I wanted. So in terms of foods and things, communicate with your physical. Assess your physical experience, so to speak, in terms of the foods that you're eating, and your body will communicate with you. I mean, we'll do a support and assistance video interviews in relation to this as well, in terms of how to assist and support yourself with your human physical body in assessing foods. But I mean, in terms of that coming up within yourself, like a looking, it will also come up like a looking within yourself, where the body will tell you, okay, food, and it will sometimes even be quite specific about what it is that it wants. I mean, that's pretty cool. So that is not thinking, that is looking. So mainly in terms of foods and things like that, one will realize that it is mostly only looking and not so much thinking. Alright, so here's some tangible, practical differences in terms of what's mind thinking, what's self-looking. And remember, this point of self-looking is and will be a process, because you are assisting and supporting yourself to take a place of consciousness, to change thinking into looking, to change reactions into expressions. I mean, this is what we're busy doing. We're changing the starting point of what we exist as a mind consciousness system to self within the principle of equality and oneness as what's best for all. And then eventually what one will realize within the walking of one's process, I mean, it becomes quite cool, because your looking will extend to, for example, where you will start being able to see yourself while you're communicating with another, where you'll start seeing what you're accepting and allowing. At the same time, you'll start seeing realizations immediately while you're communicating with someone, like, oh my God, I see how I do that in my life, and how can I change that? See, your internal conversations then start changing to practical support and assistance. It's not backchat, it is realizations that then take the place of backchat. In your physical living, how does that physical behavioral habits and patterns start changing? Starts changing in terms of where you'll be communicating with someone and your body will simply be here comfortable. Your movements will be more natural. You'll realize how still you are simply here with your human physical body and communicating with someone. Whereas now we're like these puppets on strings with our human physical bodies, and the amount of and the extent of which our physical bodies change movement, direction, and shape as we're communicating with people, with no direction or realization of what it is that we're in fact communicating with our bodies. And then in that, you'll realize that as you're speaking, your physical movements will be equal to and one with how you're speaking. So it'll be an equal in one expression, instead of where you're speaking with someone and what is in fact moving your body is your back jab and within your mind consciousness system. Alright, so here to give an overall perspective as well of process in how mind thinking changed to looking, what is mind thinking, what is self-looking, and just an overall perspective of how our process will change from pre-programmed mind consciousness system to self-directive mind consciousness system to physical living in and as our human physical bodies. And so we birth ourselves as life from the physical. Thank you.